America is aching over failed promises. And most of America is aching today over solutions that were offered to them that did not work. And they didn't work in the following ways. They were really a disappointment. And they didn't do or meet the expectations that was in the hearts of those who tried them out. The good news is, of course, in Christ Jesus, though it is difficult at times, we can truly know and experience the grace and the goodness of God. I've been looking at the meaning of a solution, which is basically a specific or correct answer to a problem, to a need, to a desire, to a question, even to a dilemma, the required response to a time of testing, going through these things. We've also taken some time to explore the different sources from which we get these answers and these replies. We've seen that God is a source, Satan and demons are a source, and human beings are a source for these answers. We've looked in particular at the character of the source and the motive of the source, not to belabor your time, but also to bring out a very important point, that solutions will either fail or succeed based upon those two features: the character of the source and the motive of the source. If the source from which we get these answers and replies is God, we will have a certain type of character that we're dealing with and a certain motive that we're dealing with. If the source is Satan or demons, we will have a certain type of character and motive that we're dealing with. And if the source is a human being, that human being will have a certain basic motive if that human being is not in relationship with Jesus Christ. And that human being will have a completely different motive and a different character out of which to work if that human being is in relationship with Jesus Christ. This is important to see because we receive solutions. If you have that for me back there on slide number 7. We receive the solution, receiving the solution, the willingness in your and my heart to receive any solution from any one of these three sources is influenced also by your and my interpretation of the character and the motive of that source. And this is often where Satan has been successful, because we can misinterpret what his real motive is. Sometimes we aren't even diagnosing or picking up the fact that, or detecting the fact that a solution is really coming from hell. And we talked a little bit about that. But then there are times when God's motives and God's character are tested. They're tested by us, and they're tested also by forces that are against God. In the book of Genesis chapter 22, we were talking about this maybe a month or so ago, how Abraham was called after God promised him a son. He waited 25 years for a son through whom the Lord would do certain specific things. He would be a blessing ultimately to the families of the earth by sending the Messiah, Yeshua, Jesus, we now know, from Nazareth. And we'll be celebrating his resurrection as we do every Sunday and every day of our lives, but in a very particular way in a couple of weeks. But as he was tested on this, as Abraham was tested on this, he was really tested. He was really tested in these areas. God's character, his integrity was being tested. His holiness was being tested. And also God's motive. Most of us have gone through times like that where we wondered why God allowed what he allowed. And many times the reason why God allows this kind of time or season to occur in your and my life is because he wants us to see that his motive and his character are one and the same. And also he wants us to see that they are true. They are faithful. They are trustworthy. And most importantly, they are sovereign. They come above everything else. The second thing that we wanted to point out too in relationship to this, and have been doing, another important insight, is that we will receive the solution as a result of the influence of the goal that you and I as inquirers or receivers may have. In other words, you and I will always be influenced by what we're really seeking, what we're really trying to accomplish. On the one hand, God's motives, and I'm nailing it down now and narrowing it, this teaching now to a focus here that deals with God. God as our source. We know that the Christian, the born-again believer, is looking to God as his source, not other people. And we also know, as we've seen from the word of the Lord, that sometimes God's character, God's motives are being tested. But another thing that God is doing many times in teaching us how to receive and even look for solutions is that he will expose to you and me the weight of the influence of the desire and the goal that you and I have, even for seeking, or as we're seeking this solution. What's going on in your and my heart has a lot to do with the solutions we look for and which ones we'll take.